What makes good world building? That's a good question. Many people would say it's vast amounts of lore and history and the economy and politics and city councils and trade routes, mystical creatures and monsters, an intricate magic system and, gosh, so much. These will not matter if you do not have the right approach to world building. And what makes me qualified to say what good world building is or what isn't? I'm not a professor from Harvard or a scholarly poet or writer. However, I've been a dungeon master for over 6 years, and I have run many campaigns. I've built worlds, some good, some bad, mostly bad, but I've learned a lot over the years as a dungeon master and as a fantasy reader. And yeah, sure, I'm not the most creative guy in originality. I know how to create intrigue and keep players invested. I know how to honor my players' backstories that keep them wanting more, that keep them digging for more questions and for more answers. You can have the greatest and most creative magic system or the most realistic economy and trade routes or an original language, but none of that matters if you just throw up. Don't just give pages and pages and pages of your world history and the magic system and trade routes. It is not going to be effective. And what makes effective world building is how subtle you are, how you deliver that information to your reader or viewer. Let's start with an onion. Right here. I'm going to put a picture of an onion right here. Let's start with that. Your world is an onion. And your onion, your world, consists of multiple layers. And each layer is a bit of your world. One's a magic system, one is the languages and cultures and the economy and the whoosy-whatsies. One layer at a time. Be subtle with how you provide that information. Because if you just word vomit on your viewer and reader, it is not going to be effective. And as a film watcher and book reader, primarily fantasy, I love when world building is subtle. And I see little sprinkles here and there. It's not just thrown at me and shoved down my throat. It's sprinkled here and there. Things don't have to be answered right away. Things can be touched upon. And when you're subtle with your world building, that creates intrigue to the viewer or the reader. They will want to know more. Characters. Characters that live within the world. Characters that truly live within it. That have a reason to be there. That have history. If the world is just some pretty backdrop, completely disconnected from the characters, I won't care about either. Thus, I won't even care about the story. If you do not care about the characters, you will not care about the choices they make, the adverse circumstances that they're in. You won't care about the good things that happen to them, the bad things that happen to them. You won't care about the characters that are surrounding them. It all has to be connected. And if the world is completely divorced from the characters and vice versa, what's the point? Why am I here? Why am I reading this book? Why am I watching this show or movie? Or why am I even in this campaign? The world's rules and laws and abiding by them. I believe the rules and laws of a world is the most fundamental thing in world building. What does the world allow or not allow? Are there arcane powers or a magic system? You want firm rules for those people to follow and understand the consequences and risks and rewards of that use of magic. and you want it to be consistent. Because the moment those laws are broken, that world is unbelievable. Truly unbelievable. I am not immersed in that. For example, the lightsaber. Let's call it the lightsaber rule. Yes, I say the lightsaber rule because nowadays in Star Wars, a lightsaber does not kill. A lightsaber is not lethal. Sure, Qui-Gon Jinn died, Jango Fett died, Count Dooku died, but Reva, the Grand Inquisitor, and many, many more, the lightsaber does not affect. What does this do for the world and lore and believability and consistency of Star Wars? When a lightsaber used to be built by a kyber crystal, one of the most rare and powerful artifacts in the entire galaxy of Star Wars, and it is now just one of those pool noodles that you hit your friends with during summertime. That's what a lightsaber is now. If a world does not have firm rules and laws and abides by them consistently, then the world is completely unbelievable. And the last principle that I think makes good world building is the principle of a living and breathing world. The world changes and evolves outside of the main protagonist's perspective. This is something that is most common in the tabletop and video game community. When you are playing a role-playing game like Dungeons & Dragons or the video games like Fallout or Baldur's Gate 3, when you see the world change around your choices or lack of choice, that creates a level of immersion unlike any other. You will be most immersed in a story, a book, a movie, when you see that world move, with or without you, with or without the characters. If a character decides to sit on a chair and do nothing, the world should continue to move. The people in the villages or city council should continue to make choices and do things outside of the main protagonist's perspective. That creates a living, breathing world. Wheel of Time is a great example. Robert Jordan has created one of the most immersive and fully realized worlds. There are over 100 different perspectives in that series. And the world will continue to change and evolve. Alliances will be made, enemies will be created, armies will be built, and cities will be flattened in and outside of the character's free will and choice. As the forever dungeon master in D&D, I do this a lot with my players. If my players decide to go left or right, the world continues to move. Villages will continue to do their daily chores and go along with their daily lives. The king and queen will make the hard choices with or without the heroes of the story. And when my players catch wind of news and big changes around the world or the capital or borders and whatnot, if they hear news of a potential war happening or maybe the king died, that is because villains and monsters and good and bad people do not wait for the heroes of the story. I can go on and on about all of these principles that I've gone over, and I can get into microscopic detail. But let's just leave it at that. Let's keep it simple. Keep the approach simple. And if you keep your approach simple, then the great vast lore that you're creating and the intricate magic system that you're building, that'll come in good time. And it'll be fun. So, thank you for hanging out with me and Here are my thoughts on world building. I hope these principles can help you and guide you along your way of creating a vast and fully realized and immersive world.